Welcome to the second episode of the series on sadness. In this episode, we'll talk about strategies for managing and facing sadness. Sadness is a response to something that hurts us or to a difficult situation from which it seems difficult to escape. With the painful consequences that are happening due to the pandemic caused by the COVID-19 virus, how can we manage the sadness we feel in a way that helps us to overcome this situation? It's important to be aware that sadness is a natural and logical emotion in the face of unfortunate events. Sadness demonstrates our sensitivity and humanity to our surroundings. We're human, therefore sensitive to what happens. Sadness tells us how we're affected by our pain and the pain of others. Therefore, it's fundamental to accept this emotion. To be human means to accept pain, death, fear, and sadness. And these moments force us to learn and accept this reality. It's essential to turn sadness into empathy for yourself and others. Look at your thoughts and don't dwell on those that provoke despair and frustration, but change them to those that move you to convey empathy, understanding, affection, and encouragement. For example, the situation is hard, but we'll find a way. Or, whatever happens, I'll do what I can, and within my means, I'll try with all my heart. Observe within your possibilities and competences. What can you do for yourself and for others in this situation? The following is a series of recommendations aimed at managing sadness. Firstly, identify the emotion. The main thing in order to manage sadness properly is to identify how we're feeling at the moment. Sometimes emotions are confusing and make us hesitate. What we must do is establish that it is sadness that we're feeling, and not anger or frustration. Secondly, determine the reason for the emotion. It's important to find the trigger for the sadness. This will require us to be truly honest with ourselves. To do this, we need to ask ourselves key questions. For example, am I avoiding what's bothering me? Am I really doing what I like? What exactly is it that's making me feel bad? By answering these questions, you'll get a clearer picture. Thirdly, establish each thing when it happens. It's important to establish the intensity of the sadness in order to know if it's becoming a problem. If the feeling lasts for many days in a row, we could be facing a mood problem, and maybe it's best to seek professional help. But if it's a sporadic state, we may have to try to solve the specific cause of these states of sadness. Fourthly, understand sadness as something temporary. The way we perceive our emotions determines the way they affect us. If we insist that most things that happen to us are sad or unpleasant, then we'll most likely live in a negative state of mind. The opposite is true when we realize that sadness is a temporary mood, and that eventually we'll feel better than we do when we are discouraged. Fifthly, see sadness as an agent of change. While it's an unpleasant emotion, it's also a powerful agent of change in certain situations. Let's look at the following example. When we find ourselves going through a breakup, it's natural to be overcome by a feeling of sadness and uneasiness. After a while, the sadness will be gone, and we'll be left with a feeling of calm and the ability to look at the past in a more objective and serene way. Finally, find the antidote to your sadness. It's true that there are no magic formulas that can make us feel better from one moment to the next, but if we follow the steps above, we'll have reached a conception of our sadness that will allow us to find the necessary tools to overcome it. Taking up a hobby can be an effective way to combat our feeling of sadness and replace it with one of personal enjoyment. In the next episode, we'll talk about our research in nursing homes and with nursing home workers and other studies on the effects of the pandemic situation on the well-being of older people and what actions have been taken to mitigate them. Thanks for listening.